What if nuclear war didn't begin in the 20th century? What if it already happened thousands of years ago? From radioactive skeletons in ancient cities to vitrified ruins, two myths that sound eerily like mushroom clouds, this is the story of a forgotten war and the destruction before history began. Across the globe, from India to the Middle East, strange ruins defy our understanding of ancient warfare. In places like Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan, entire streets are littered with skeletons, many lying hand in hand as if death struck instantly. Even more bizarre, some of the bones showed traces of radioactivity. Scientists have debated whether it was due to natural uranium deposits, but no conclusive geological source was ever found. Further west, in cities like Alalak or Sodom, archaeologists uncovered layers of ash, fused bricks, and evidence of temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius, far beyond any ancient fire. The walls weren't just burned, they were melted. What weapon could do that in 2000 BCE? Ancient texts from across cultures describe weapons of unbelievable power. In the Mahabharata, one of the oldest epics from India, a weapon is described that blazes like 1,000 suns and reduces cities to ash. It speaks of people's hair and nails falling out, birds dropping from the sky, and food becoming inedible, strikingly similar to modern descriptions of nuclear fallout. The Bible mentions divine fire raining from the heavens on Sodom and Gomorrah, destroying everything in an instant. In Babylonian lore, gods wielded terrible brilliance that scorched the earth. Are these just metaphors? Or eyewitness accounts misunderstood over time? All over the world, we find ancient stone fortresses with walls that appear to have been melted, literally fused together, as if exposed to an intense and sudden heat. In Scotland, the mysterious vitrified forts show stones glazed into glass. No fire, no matter how large, could produce that effect using Bronze Age technology. In Peru, the megalithic stones of Sacsayhuaman fit together with laser-like precision, and in some areas, surfaces show partial melting, like softened wax. In India's Rajasthan, archaeologists found glassified desert sand fused into slabs similar to trinitite, a material formed only by atomic explosions. These are not isolated anomalies. They're global, and they all point to one thing: an unknown force capable of melting stone at nuclear temperatures. In Mohenjo-Daro, some of the human remains have radiation levels up to 50 times higher than normal background levels, according to studies from Indian and Russian researchers in the 20th century, but it doesn't stop there. In southern Iraq, near ancient Sumerian ruins, elevated uranium and thorium isotopes have been detected in soil samples. In Egypt, the Temple of Seti shows signs of flash burn damage, scorch marks resembling what's seen at nuclear test sites, and in areas like Rajasthan or the Gobi Desert, satellites have picked up anomalous radiation signatures with no known natural cause. How? Could radiation so specific, so intense exist in places thousands of years old? Could these have been ancient ground zeros? Are we walking atop forgotten battlefields? The Mahabharata isn't just myth, it's one of the longest and most detailed war epics in human history. And some passages sound like battlefield reports, not poetry. It speaks of a weapon charged with all the power of the universe, which produces a column of smoke and flame, bright as 10,000 suns, rising in all directions. It describes charred corpses, rivers boiling, and animals perishing instantly. Wounds could not be healed. Birds turned white. Food became poisonous. One verse reads, "The iron bolt of death, a gigantic messenger of destruction, reduced everything to dust." These are not metaphorical expressions, they're eerily similar to modern accounts from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And if the Mahabharata was describing real weapons, who made them? If ancient nuclear war happened, then someone had to build the weapons, but who? One theory suggests it wasn't us, not modern humans, at least, but an earlier advanced civilization. The Vedic texts speak of Vimanas, flying machines, with advanced propulsion and weapon systems. Other cultures tell of sky chariots, gods descending in fire, and heavenly battles fought above cities. Could these be memories of an ancient, technological elite? Another hypothesis links these destructive powers to beings not from Earth. Texts across Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Americas mention sky gods with the power to flatten mountains and split the heavens. Alternatively, what if we had once reached a technological peak and collapsed? A past cycle of civilization lost to time and its remnants misinterpreted as mythology. If so, what caused the fall? A war so devastating that survivors regressed into silence. What remains after a nuclear war? Radiation, mutated life, perhaps. Silence. But in ancient sites from India to Turkey, from Bolivia to the American Southwest, there's something deeper, a pattern of sudden abandonment, vitrified architecture, lost engineering, and mythology that begins exactly where history ends. In Derinku, Turkey, an underground city large enough to house 20,000 people was carved into solid rock. Why underground? Protection from what? In Bolivia, the ruins of Pumapunku were so precisely carved, engineers today struggle to replicate the joins. Some blocks weigh over 100 tons, scattered as if by a blast. In Hopi and Zuni traditions, Southwest U.S., legends speak of fire from the sky and entire tribes vanishing in a day. Could it be that these ruins don't just whisper of civilization, but of a war so ancient and advanced that its traces became part of the landscape itself? While modern cities bear scars of atomic testing, charred ruins, trinitite or radioactive craters, ancient sites may be whispering similar tales. But unlike Hiroshima or Chernobyl, these stories are coded in stone, buried beneath centuries of silence. Let's begin with Derinku. This underground city in central Turkey extends 18 levels below the surface with ventilation shafts, stables, wells, and enough living space for over 20,000 people. Some tunnels even connect to nearby cities, but why such effort in a pre-industrial age? Why live underground for months or years? Mainstream theories suggest religious refuge or invasion shelters. But the architecture points to long-term habitation, possibly due to an environmental or existential threat. Could they have fled from deadly fallout above? Other ancient underground cities in Cappadocia mirror similar depth and complexity. They weren't temporary bunkers, they were designed survival habitats. Was the surface no longer safe? In Bolivia, the site of Pumapunku remains an unsolved riddle. Some megalithic blocks are shattered and scattered across a wide radius. While some claim it was an earthquake, the dispersion pattern resembles explosive force. Even stranger, the precision cuts on the stone, straight grooves, perfectly drilled holes, and machine symmetry suggest advanced tools far beyond what is documented in Incan or pre-Incan cultures. Could a lost civilization with powerful tools and weapons have met a sudden end? Let's cross over to North America. Native Hopi, Zuni, and Navajo oral histories speak of worlds that were destroyed by fire from the sky. One Hopi prophecy describes cities turning to ash and rivers boiling. Some believe it references a spiritual cleansing. Others see echoes of cataclysmic war. These motifs of sky fire and people retreating to caves are echoed in Aboriginal myths in Australia and even the Norse Fimbul winter, a nuclear winter of mythological proportion, are all these disparate cultures remembering the same thing through different lenses. If we zoom out, a pattern emerges. Ancient structures melted or exploded, underground refuges carved into stone, mythology of fire and poison from above, sudden abandonment of cities. This isn't just architectural curiosity. It looks like post-cataclysmic adaptation. These ruins are more than stone. They are memory. They are evidence. If nuclear war happened before recorded history, then the timeline of human civilization isn't just wrong, it's broken. We're not the first advanced beings on Earth. We may just be the latest, from texts that read like Fallout reports, to ruins melted by impossible heat, to radiation signatures in prehistoric cities. The evidence is scattered, hidden, controversial, but persistent. Maybe history isn't a straight line, but a cycle, a rise, a fall, a forgetting, and every time we reach the height, we reset. The question now is not just whether it happened, but whether it could happen again. What if we're the amnesiacs of history? Modern humans often believe we are the pinnacle of civilization. But every pinnacle sits atop a buried past, and sometimes a buried warning dot if a global scale war happened in the deep past using technologies we barely understand what would remain. Not computers, not metal, not glass, but stone. And stories, those stories, passed as myth, describe weapons with unmatched energy, instant destruction of entire cities, ash, wind, and silence after fire, survivors going underground or starting over. Look again at ancient texts, the Mahabharata, the Popolva, the Book of Enoch, the Epic of Gilgamesh. All tell of a time when gods or giants or beings from above destroyed cities, drowned continents, or laid waste to the earth. Could gods be misremembered engineers? Could chariots of fire be ancient aerial craft, even Plato's? Atlantis hints at a highly advanced civilization destroyed in a single day and night. Was it sunk or vaporized? Let's not forget the Younger Dryas impact theory. Around 12,800 years ago, Earth experienced a sudden global catastrophe: mass extinction, rapid sea level rise, and a cooling period. Some researchers believe it was caused by a comet impact, others suggest something more human. If humanity reached high once before and fell, we may not be standing at the top, but in the middle of a repeating cycle. A cycle of innovation. Gives arrogance, gives conflict, gives collapse, gives forgetting, gives rediscovery. We don't remember the last nuclear war, not because it didn't happen, but because we were not meant to remember it. And yet, the ruins remember. The myths remember. The earth itself remembers. This video explores one of the most controversial hypotheses in human history, that nuclear war wasn't a 20th century invention, but a faded memory of a past that was wiped from the record. We begin at Mohenjo-Daro, where ancient skeletons show unusual levels of radiation, and traces of intense heat suggest destruction beyond any natural fire. Vitrified ruins where stone was melted into glass appear in Scotland, Peru, and India. Ancient texts like the Mahabharata describe weapons brighter than 1,000 suns, burning cities to ash, causing hair to fall out, and poisoning Food echoes disturbingly similar to post-war Hiroshima. From underground cities like Dorinkyu to the Hopi legends of fire from the sky, a recurring pattern emerges: sudden collapse, people fleeing underground. Memory passed down as myth. Could it be that human history is a cycle of rise, destruction, amnesia, and rediscovery, and that we are not the first civilization, only the latest to try again after what was erased? The question is no longer, did it happen, but rather, are we walking the same path again? Are we listening to what the ruins are trying to tell us? The ruins are silent, but they may still be speaking of a war we forgot, of a warning we ignored, and of a cycle we might be repeating. If destruction came before history, what does that say about our future? Subscribe for more. The next truth may already be buried.